So you got your makeup in and you got your compact set up. Now let me show you what to do with it. I think it's easier to start out first whenever you're a beginner, just finding the placement of everything. So I'm going to show you exactly where you want to place all of your colors, and it's going to make it super simple for you. First, I always like to start out with contour. So it's like a little road map for where to put everything else. So I always put it up here for that reason. Now your contour sometimes is going to be a little more hard to get into because it's a different texture than your highlight colors and your lip and cheek colors. But don't worry, if you slide your finger on it to warm it up, then that will work. If these get really cold, they're creams, so they might get a little tougher. You can either run a blow dryer over it or just warm it up with your fingers. I don't ever use the blow dryer, I just warm it up with my fingers. So you're going to take your contour and you're just going to finger paint. So I like to go all around my forehead. I have kind of a 5 head, so I like to bring it around town and then do this and this. If you get my SpongeBob reference, you get cool points. Then I'm going to find just the bottom of my cheekbone and I'm going to bring it over, but I'm not going to bring it over further than my pupil. I like to kind of stop it here, but you can kind of play around and see where you want to stop that. So I use this color, it's called Cedar, and I just think it's a really good color for a lot of different people. Okay, then I'm going to take 2 fingers, I'm going to dip into my contour, and the closer together we get it, the more small our nose is going to look, and I have a pretty large snoz, so we're going to try to get it close together here. You can just do this with your fingers. You can either take your 2 index fingers and do it, or you can just do it like this. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then we're going to go under our lip and just give it a little definition. You can see how that makes your lip look a little more poofy. And then we're going to go on our jawline, so we're going to find our jaw. If you have a double chin like me, then you might have to feel around for it. No shame in our double chin game, but this does help you. It's like Spanx for your face. I just like to take it under my chin a little bit too, and you can see how that just gives me some definition. So that is it. If you've been scared of contour forever, that's literally all it is with this makeup, and it blends like butter. Now we're going to go over to our brightening shade, and I like to apply this next. So I'm just going to use a little here and a little here, and that's going to give us a lift, but we're not applying too much. And you can see it's a little bit more of a creamy consistency. And then I'm just going to make like a little happy tree up here. I always say it's like a little Bob Ross happy tree. And then I'm going to bring it down my nose very carefully, just making the most thin line. And then I kind of give myself a button nose. There's a few different ways you can contour your nose, but that's how I like to do it. Next, I'm just going to go on the Cupid bow, which is right here. That's just a fancy way of saying the top center of your lip. So you can see everything's kind of centralized. And then we're going to go to this other spot on our chin. And I kind of like to blend it around so I don't get too much, because less is more with this makeup. If I could tell you anything, and if I'd known anything to start out with that would have helped me more, is less is more. You don't need a lot. These little tins are going to last you a while. Some people get it and they're like, that looks so small, but they last a long time. They're super pigmented and you do not need much. So next I'm going to go in with my main shade, and this is what most people would call your foundation shade. This is a little dark for me right now because I haven't self-tanned, but for the purpose of this educational video, it will work. So we're just going to go in here, and I just go all the places that the other two are not. So you don't really have to think about it. It's just all the places that the others are not. So you're just going to go along here. I like to give a few. And if you need more coverage afterwards, you can always add that. But it's always nice to start out with a lesser amount, because it is easy to apply too much when you're used to other makeup systems. So you don't need much. So everywhere that's not, and then we're just going to blend. When you get your brush, it's going to show you on the back what it is. So if you're curious about what the brush is that you got, you could either check your order or you can check your box. Then you're just going to open it like this. I know I was a little confused the first time I got this. I was like, how do I get that out of there? But what you're going to do is you're just going to pull it down on one side and then just slide it over the other like so. And then it will fluff out and be your beautiful little happy brush. And yes, you will love how soft it is. We're going to go all over, and we're just going to blend out the lightest colors first. So we're going to start here and just blend. If you want to use your finger for this part, it kind of helps it meld in. I got a little too much. I got a little too carried away. So I'm just going to do it like that, and I'm just going to go above my eyelid. You don't have to do that part, but I do like to do it just to kind of smooth it out a little bit. And you can always just tap, tap, tap. So I do sometimes like to do this part with my finger, whatever your preference is. And if you need to get some off, you can just kind of dab a little bit. So I like to do this. This is called stippling, so you just bounce it off your face, and that's a stipple. So we're just going to do that, and we're just going to blend our main shade and our brightening shades to start out with. You can do a swirl if you want. If you're in a spot that you need more coverage, you definitely want to bounce and stipple. So I can already tell that I'm going to need a little bit more there, but I'll show you what to do when we're all finished blending this out. On this part, I do like to give it a little swirl because I don't need as much coverage there. So you can tell we're already starting to look a little less crazy, right? So then I'm just going to go in and I'm going to blend upwards with my contour. So I might need a swirl motion and upwards. We don't want to drag it down because that's going to bring our face down. And we want a nice lifted look. So you can see how that's sculpting out my cheekbone. And that's what we want. And then we're just going to go around. Now on this part, I do swirl because it needs blended in a little bit better because I do the most up there. I put a lot on. So we're going to go around, going to blend it up into the hairline. And these brushes are super soft. People are like, you're beating your face to death. But really, these bristles are so much softer than what you're used to that it's okay. So that's blended out and it looks a lot less scary, right? And so we're not going to forget our under chin because that would be crazy to be walking around. We're just going to blend there. And then I'm going to use the sides of it to just blend out my contour. And it's super simple. It just blends that easily. So I can tell I have a little redness still in these areas, and I usually need a little more coverage there. So I'm going to just give it a little bit more. So I'm going to go in with my brush and my main shade, and I'm just going to stipple a little bit on where I need some coverage. So this can be buildable. You can do light to medium, or you can do full coverage, depending on what you want. So different brushes are going to allow you different coverages. This one is a medium coverage. I want to get around my eyebrows. You have to be careful. You don't want to mess them up. I should probably do them after my makeup, but I never do. And so then if you want to go on the sides of your nose a little bit and chisel out that contour there, you can. You can do it with your fingers, you can do it with your brush, whatever suits your needs. And then if you want to go a little bit under your contour with that brightening shade, that'll just clean it up just the slightest amount. So you just do this and this. And then you can just drag it down a little bit. Blend it in. Ta-da! Okay, so now that I have the coverage that I want, we're going to go in with this lip and cheek color. And so I'm just going to do this, and I like to give it 2 dots. So this one's a little more sheer. This one's more sheer than what I usually use. So I'm going to maybe give it a swipe. But 2 dots are good to start with for the most part because these are also super highly pigmented. I have this pesky little zit going on, but it's okay. It's going to hide under my blush here. So we're going to do that. I'm going to give it more of a lifted effect. So I'm going to go here. Sometimes I bring it down further. It just depends on what kind of mood I'm in. And this is going to be like a more glossy. You can see how it's got this little shine. So this is a more glossy lip and cheek, and it's just very subtle. So if you're into the subtle thing, this is for you. So you're just going to pounce it there again, and we're going to not try to disturb the underneath makeup. So we're just going to do that. So look how good that looks already. All right, so I'm going to use that same color that I used for my cheeks on my lips. And they are looking crusty, so I could definitely use this one. This has a really glossy finish, and I love it. So it's going to be just a really natural, pretty look. And I'm going to blend under there again, make sure I got my chin. But that is it for your first application. And look, it's very natural. It looks like you, but it enhances your features. It's not one flat thing. You're 3-dimensional again. So it is very natural looking, very put together, and also very simple. So once you get that down, you're going to be able to do that in no time. So that's all there is to it. It is really that simple. I hope you have a great first application. If you need any other assistance, feel free to reach out to me.